Mummies, they don't cure disease, you know. That sounds like a strange statement. But believe it or not, for about 500 years, starting from the 12th century, European apothecaries sold something called mumia, said to be a concoction made from imported Egyptian mummies, supposed to be good for whatever ailed you. Well, this nonsense actually was the result of a misunderstanding. The ancient Persians used bitumen, which is a crude oily exudate that is found on some mountains. They thought that this was a remedy for many diseases, which again it wasn't. And the Greek historian Herodotus believed that this bitumen was also used to create mummies, because when mummies were unwrapped, they had a black tinge, and he thought that bitumen had been used. So when supplies of Persian bitumen ran low, the belief was that instead you could use scrapings from mummies, because this looked just like bitumen. Of course, again, there was absolutely no science to this whatsoever. But if you're going to look for some science in connection with mummies, there is plenty of it. The microorganisms that degrade the human body after death require water because they're living systems. And the ancient Egyptians found that bodies buried in the dry sand of the desert did not decompose very effectively. And furthermore, when these bodies were buried in deposits near the Nile that contained natron, which now we recognize as a mixture of sodium carbonate, sodium bicarbonate, sodium sulfate, and some sodium chloride, this is very effective at dehydrating the body so that the microbes don't break it down. And the Egyptians believed that the body had to be preserved for use in the afterlife. So what did they do? First, they removed what they thought was unnecessary in the afterlife, like the brain. They took it out through the nose and discarded it. They washed the body cavity after the organs had been removed with a mixture of wine and spices. The heart they put back, and the other organs they put in pickle jars to be, I guess, reassembled in the afterlife. And then they would take the body and pack it in natron for about 40 days. That would dehydrate it. Then they would wrap it in cotton strips and dip the whole body into resin exudate of various trees. And thus, the mummy was complete. But as I said, the mummy did not serve as any kind of medicine, and certainly mummies have never come back to life. But there is some life in the science of making mummies. And that for today is our Cup of Joe.